Hey, good morning. Morning, everybody. I got a couple platforms going here, so I just want to talk about the title of the message this morning that I want to share is changing. It's not your position; it's your posture that needs to be changed. It's not your position; it's your posture that needs to be changed. So when we go through things, when we're placed in a position and we're going through things that doesn't seem to be working out, and we kind of question, well, is this the will of God? I want to take you back real quick to Moses. This is the first one that comes to mind. It just came popped to mind right now. Um, Moses, he was called to be the liberator. He was called to God wanted to use him to deliver the children of Israel. Now, God had set in place and he had performed all these things in his life in order to get there, in order to start that, right? He had from birth, where he was born, the s- the atmosphere of the time that were killed in the children, the setup to be raised in the Egyptian palace, in the Egyptian kingdom or courts or whatever the term is. He was raised in enemy territory. He's raised behind the lines. And when he grew, he came to a, a time in his life where he had to make a decision. Now, we know what happened. He ended up killing a soldier, fleeing. 40 years later, we see him have an encounter with God at the burning bush. At the burning bush, he's called and he comes forth. And uh, so there's lot going on in Moses that it wasn't a direct path. And then even when he was called, he went to Pharaoh because God told him to. But Pharaoh didn't just say, "Hey, okay, you said God said let my people go. Okay, take them, take all 6 million of them, or how many people were there." So the path that God has set isn't necessarily a flawless path. It isn't necessarily a path of least resistance. So there's going to be things that we go through. So that doesn't change the fact that we're still in the will of God. So Moses had to go through something. We're going to have to go through something. So, what I want to talk about again today is not changing our position, but changing our posture while we're in that position. How are we approaching this? How are we approaching this place? How are we approaching in the role that we're in? Because again, it doesn't have to be something drastic, but it could be just how we're approaching it. So I was in worship the other day. I was at church and I was in worship, and that hit me because I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm worshiping God, I get the boldness to, okay, I'll lift my hands. I try to, okay, that's one position, right? And then you know how man is. We kind of have that fear. We kind of have that embarrassment. We kind of have that, what will somebody say, and we get that, and then we get there, and it's like, oh, that was harmless. I'm just gonna worship God. I'm gonna focus on God. I'm gonna stand here. I'm gonna glorify God. Father, thank you for all that you've done, and we're gonna worship you. We're gonna worship you, and that's another posture, right? That's another different posture from sitting there with your hands in your pockets or there, and you're just there. But when you start to let go, when you start to surrender, what do the cops tell you to do? Put your hands up. So that's a form of surrender, right? When we put our hands up, that's a form of surrender. So that's a posture. That's a posture that we take on and then we let down. So we have these different postures, right? So we get to that point, and then what happens? Because again, when I get to a service, sometimes I'm so bogged down with life that I can't have an encounter with God. He can't reach my spirit because there's so much blocking. So I need to let things go. I need to say, cast them at his feet and say, God, take this from me because I can't take care of it. I haven't been able to do nothing with it all week, all month, all year. I need you to take it. I'm casting it at your feet because you are the one that said, you said in your word in Matthew, cast your cares upon me because I care for you. It says in Matthew 6:33, Seek ye first the kingdom of God and my righteousness, and I'll take all the rest of this stuff. So he wants to take care of everything. So when we start doing that surrender, when we start changing our posture, like, here, I surrender, I'm giving it to you. And I'm going to focus on you right now and not what's going on in my mind. I'm going to eliminate all that. I'm going to throw it away. I'm going to set it aside at your feet, because you say you're going to take care of those things that that I'm struggling with, that I'm dealing with in my life, that are burdening me, that are keeping me separated from my intimate time with you. And then when I'm here and I'm still feeling that, but I need a breakthrough, what's the next thing that I can do? It's perhaps it's, hey, the posture. How can we get closer to God? We get down on our knees. There's a couple of things. There's standing, there's raising your hands, there's bowing, there's kneeling. So we kneel before God. Again, another form of surrender. What happens when you've seen the movies, when the gangsters, what do? They put you on your knees for execution. It's a total surrender, right? You're at their will. And so we get to our knees and we get that much closer to God. And then finally, the last posture, and again, it's not totally the last posture, but it's another posture, and it's total submission, is laying prostrate, getting on our face before God. So I want to say those things, man. Hey, when we get to that next level, when we get to that next level of worship, when we get to the next level of surrender, when we're going through something, it might not be the position that's the problem. It might be the posture that we're approaching it with, or the posture that we're in, that's hindering us from receiving and from being a blessing and from just being able to be used. Amen. So let's check out our posture and adjust that accordingly. So let's not make something drastic. Let's not necessarily make a big change, but let's see how we're approaching it, man. Thank y'all for checking us out. Continue to check us out. Hopefully God's continue to have a word for somebody, and hopefully this bless somebody, man. Hit the like, subscribe, share, all that. Thanks for checking us out.